You're good.
Good morning, everyone. This is Shannon, Sam, and Erin here from Keller Williams, Legacy One Realty, the Advantage Home team. We just wanted to come and have a talk with you. I wanted to ask Sam and Erin what they are hearing. What are the questions that buyers and sellers are asking them most frequently right now? And maybe you have them too.
Absolutely. I'll go first. So I just did an open house on Sunday, yesterday. And the first thing that I was asked is, do I need to sign a paper to walk in here? And I know that's been a lot of miscommunication in the media, with media coverage. It was on our local news, at least I know that. And you do not have to sign any kind of documentation to go in and look at a house that is an open house. We are there representing the seller to try to bring in people to look at their home. We're not employed by a buyer yet for that particular purchase. But when you do come in, we're going to ask you, are you working with someone? What are you looking for, so that we can get a feel, so maybe we can help you too.
That's a great explanation. Yeah. I think that's great. I think we're going to see a lot of people coming to open houses, especially unrepresented buyers.
Yes.
What about you, Sam? What's your...
No, just one question. I'm just fielding questions on how the pay structure works. So, for me, I don't think there's that much of a change, I'll be honest. I did another video about this, but I think it's just clarity on how payment was working before. I thought our ER was very clear before of how it worked out, but now it's even clearer. I think the biggest thing is not enough agents were telling their buyers that there is such thing as a buyer broker. It's always been, well, not always been there, but it's been there for quite a while, that they could be paying if the agent, required that fee. But also they were using the term, oh, you don't pay my fee, somebody else does. So it's just the jargon that got lost in it. So now I'm just explaining to people that as a buyer's agent, I typically work for 3%. I've always worked for 3%. And a lot of the times the seller was offering to pay me that, so you have representation and the transaction can be smoother. Where now they may not be offering that and it's gonna fall onto you, but it's always been, I work for 3%. That's kind of how my thing has always gone. I've always talked to my buyers and sellers about that. So the biggest change now is explain to them, but now there's a paper that's gonna come up front where it's gonna really have you explain that you're agreeing to work with me and you're agreeing to pay me this percentage. And if I'm not gonna get that percentage, we'll have a conversation before we write the offer. Most of my clients know I have never enforced those kind of percentages. Like, if the numbers don't work, my goal is to get them into a house. But the process, I don't think has really changed that much. I think it's just a lot of scaredness from change and a lot of over-exaggeration from the media, for example, and people talking about the industry that aren't in the industry.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, because I've been asked before, because I say, okay, I feel that I'm worth the 3%. How do you break that down to a client when they say, well, why do you get paid 3%? Some people think it's too high, some people think it's too low. So it's like breaking it down to them, because we're on a team, it kind of works a little bit different in
general, yeah. So, I'm not gonna get into the exact numbers of how it breaks down, but I do kind of go over with them that, just like with anything else, if you're working at McDonald's and they say you're getting paid $20 an hour, you're not walking away with $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Like by the time everyone gets their cut, it's much less. It's the same with this. So I tell them right off the bat, if you think about it, after all my fees and everything, I am down at least to 50%. Mm-hmm. And then from that, I still have my own expenses to cover this up. Yeah. And where the value comes in, and I break down the contract, the timelines, what protections they're getting. It's a very small percentage when you break it down by hour, by transaction, by type.
Absolutely.
So when somebody says, oh, you made this much money, yeah, but it took me 45 days to do that for you.
Yes.
And if I was billing you by the hour, here's how that would look. Similar to lawyers, similar to, psychologists and those kind of things, where the overall issue isn't what they're getting paid for, it's a time to get you to the goal of the issue.
Right. And it's 45 days, and in that 45 days, you're not just looking at it for a couple minutes at a time. Some of the stuff, just even sometimes getting quotes takes hours to do, because you're calling different people, you're trying to get a hold of people, waiting for people to get back to you, you're driving everywhere, checking on properties, and there's a lot of stuff that
is
Yeah.
just once you're under contract.
Yes,
You still
yeah.
have the marketing and the listing and all of that.
I actually helped find a house for someone. We looked at over 40 houses, and it was 5 months, and it was a lot. I was so glad when we finally found something, that his family could love, and it was worth every penny. That, it was worth everything that was put into it, and it was a really joyous occasion. I think just he didn't think he was ever going to find something, but we put in the time and the effort to do that. It was a lot of hours of work.
Right? This
So-
is not the only job, but it's one of the most, it is a job where we go to work every day unemployed.
Yes.
And we have to hunt for our food,
Yeah.
and we have to do all of the work up front and get the compensation in the end.
Yes.
And people miss that. And so I've had the same question about what's your compensation, what do you charge, and why is it 3%? And I talked to an investor just recently, and basically what I was telling him is, look, we're selling some land, and I'm going to be someone who answers the phone at 7:30 when the investors are done with their workday, and they're going to call me because that's the time that these kind of buyers are going to call. My phone doesn't shut off at 5 o'clock. For the most part, I do try to put my family first, but there are going to be times where I give in that area, and that's the reason I charge 3%. I don't just stick a sign in the ground and let it work for itself. You have plenty of 1% and 2% agents out there. But people, right now, it's extremely hard to sell a property. There's so many objections we have to overcome before we even hit the ground. And it starts with paperwork and dating your clients before you were even married, or marrying your clients
marrying
before
them
even
before-
dating.
yeah.
Hey, sign this paper before we can go in. Ooh, there's a lot of obstacles to overcome. So I think there's a difference in a 1% agent, a 2% agent, and a 3% agent. It's just what meets your needs.
Yes.
And they've always been able to decide, always. For the past 60 years, it's been the same commission has been discussed. There might have been some ambiguity or some lackadaisical explanation on people that ruined it for those of us who do it the right way,
Yeah.
but it's certainly outlined
It's more
now
clarity.
much
Yes.
more clear.
Yeah. And then the documents are just that. So, I mean, one of the biggest struggles we're running into is people that have bought before. Well, this isn't how I did it last time. Or people that are first-time buyers, but they have very heavy influence from friends and family, or that's not. And it's very scary to, hey, before I even get into a property, you're signing a contract. And that's never been the way. It's always been the soft opening. It's been like, let's go look, let's get you approved,
Yeah.
let me walk you through this process and build you up as we go so you're comfortable with what's going on. Where now we've had to say, hey, before we get any of that, I have to go over legal stuff with you. I need you to put your name on this and commit to something.
It's scary.
And then I'm going to start explaining and walking through the process.
Yes.
And it's just the change up there. I think it's more scared than anything else. I think,
It's trust.
like I said, I don't think that document changes anything about how we do our business.
No.
I think it just now
No.
puts a break right off the bat to, hey, we have to talk about potential finances and documents and that kind of stuff before I even really get to know you and really get to see what your interests are, and then I can make this work. I mean, I had a client just last week, we were talking, and based on what they're pre-approved, they aren't in a position where they can buy right now. So we're not signing that document because we're not going to go into houses because I don't want to get her looking into things and being excited when I know I can't fulfill those promises. So it's just a little different. Like, we had some conversations and we didn't sign documents based on the conversations that we had. I still feel confident we're going to work together, so it's not changing how I'm doing my business. I'm still looking, I'm still going to be talking to her lender. But it's just now knowing that once we get to the point, I got to have this conversation again of like, hey, I physically cannot walk you into a house without signing these documents. I think it's just, like I said, it's just really throwing people off their game that they can't start the process slowly. It's
Yeah,
like
there's no
it's like showing up to a car
opportunity
dealership and then being like, sorry, you can't come on the dealership until you sign this document. Where
Yeah.
it's like, I just want to look. You can't look yet. Like,
Right?
and that's where I mean, it's just going to be reimagining the whole industry and really getting people comfortable with, even though you're signing a contract with us, we're not going to be, if you don't buy anything, you're not held to this. If you and I turn out we're not a good fit for each other, there's no cancellation cost. Like, personally, I'm not charging anybody. Like,
No,
if my client has
right.
a conversation with me and they're like, you know what, it's just not working, I'd rather work with so-and-so, we're going to have, just like we always had, of the, hey, what's best for you is what's best for the transaction.
Yes.
I mean, there's always the caveat, well, no, I showed you this house under contract, now you can't switch. But in general, like, this document, yes, it allows me to show you houses, yes, it allows me to work with you, but this is where I kind of come up with the joke about, oh, you're married to me. Well, no, like, it's not as hard as a divorce.
Right? That's,
You know,
yes, you can
that's
walk
true.
away
yeah, I
comfortably.
mean, even like if you wouldn't have hired a lawyer and there's fees for that one, but if you were not, you and the lawyer weren't seeing eye to eye, you're not gonna stick with them just because you've already started working with them.
right, and there is a choice in forms where you can be showing them several houses and work with them for a duration, and then there's a form where we can just let you in, see if we can
Stand
build rapport in 30 minutes and
Yeah.
go from
Yes.
there.
Yes, right. The single home or multiple homes. And I think it is hard. I just showed a home last week where the couple did not want to sign. They did not want to be, they're like, I just want you to know that this is not binding. And I was like, absolutely. This is not, if we go forward with a purchase, this is where the paper comes in so that you know what my fees are. I'm gonna try to get those covered the best I can. If not, then you know up front what my fees are. And this allows me to show you this one home. And he's like, oh, okay, but I'm not, like, if this doesn't work out between us, you're not, I don't have to do this. I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to stick you with, oh, you have to, you signed this and now we've got to stay together and all that. That's not how it works. And I think most agents too feel that way because you want to have that rapport, you want to have that trust, you want to have the relationship where they feel comfortable, you feel comfortable, and you know that it's going to be a good transaction. And later on, you have that rapport and that relationship and they want to come back as well.
I agree.
So to switch gears, we're talking a lot here on the buyer, like how a person buyer, how are you guys doing when it comes to the other side when we're taking those listings? Because we're still in the same conversation.
Yes.
It's just, again, more clear, more longevity to it.
Are you referring to the seller,
Yeah.
the buyer's agent compensation, or an unrepresented seller? Because
All
we
of
have
it,
two.
yeah, all of it. Because I mean, I know I've done a few listings since August 17th when the changes happened, and that's been the most fun part. Because what I'm literally doing is showing my clients the old contract and the new contract to show them like it's relatively the same, but we're just gonna get more detailed on how it spaces out. And I personally haven't had any my sellers that are like, oh, I'm not gonna pay a buyer's agent. So I don't know if you guys ran into that yet or not. Like I haven't, so I'm still waiting for that conversation because you see on the news. You see on the news where they're saying sellers no longer need to pay buyers, and all my sellers are like, when you break it down, they're like, that doesn't make any sense. Of course, we're going to pay a buyer's agent because the buyers have all these other fees, and I want them to be able to buy my house.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys have ran into that yet or not.
I have. I have
too.
had people, it didn't end this way, but it started with, well, I was told I don't have to pay a buyer's agent anymore. And I said, it's always been that way. You always don't have to pay a buyer's agent. Here's what I recommend. Other people in this area, I have called each and every agent. There's a little pain with this change. Each and every agent to find out what compensation they're offering. And I present to that seller what the average compensation is. And I feel if you fall in between that range, then you're going to be successful. If you don't offer a compensation to a buyer's agent, here's what's going to happen. This Mr. Seller, they're going to assume your property's worth 3% less. The market analysis that we do and provide you and all the other sellers includes that in the price of the sale. So we're we're analyzing these properties based on what the average is. It's not a guarantee, but it's all of the knowledge we have to provide you the best opportunity to sell your property. So if you decrease that or don't offer that, you may limit the buyers you have that come in, and or you may not be inviting by an agent. We should show all properties, and I certainly show all properties no matter what commission or compensation is offered to me, but that might not be the case with everyone else, Mr. Seller.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's true. I mean, that's just, I mean, again, our job isn't to sugarcoat things. Our job isn't to
No.
pretend the market's not the way it is.
Yeah.
I
And
couldn't agree more.
I
couldn't
deal
agree more with that
most-
statement.
I do a lot of time with buyers where they want to put the bigger down payment down. They want to put the money towards buying down their points. But money's finite. They only have so much. And if it's going to become between buying down points and paying an agent, they're probably going to, have to make some sacrifices. And that's not where the buyer wants to. Where you're going to get worse offers. You're going to get people asking for more concessions than they actually need. Where, it could end up costing you 3 or 4% versus the 3% you would have normally offered. Again, I haven't ran into it yet, but in my head, that's what this is making sense of.
Personally, what upsets me the most is the veterans the veteran buyers now who, as a reward for serving for our country, are not required to put money down. It's a gift to them. They've served for our country. Their out of pocket is minimal as a respect and an honor from us. So now, if the seller's agent isn't offering a compensation to the buyer's agent and they come in, the idea that they now have to pay a buyer's agent kind of defeats the purpose of buying a house without money down. You know, here you fought for our country. So that's where I'm a little raw about that, and I'm sure they'll work through it. It's all an adjustment right now, but there are people it affects that people don't realize. And we're just trying to make the best for everyone. And to your point, that like selling a house or buying a house, like one of the biggest stress points in someone's life. You know, right up there with divorce or buying a car, these things are stressful. And we're here to tell you the truth, so your expectations are real, because it can be crushing or difficult when you have everything else going on. Throw in getting a divorce or throwing a death of a spouse, this job can be very hard, and we try to minimize it. So all of us being honest about what's coming up with the change and having clarity is trying to relieve stress of these people at some very hard times in their lives.
For sure.
And I also think, as an industry, not everyone realizes how we get our comps. Is, you know, we look at houses that actually sold. Well, all the data beforehand, we weren't taking into account when we showed you what the market value was versus your net, was accounting for the compensation that went into that.
Yes.
Where they're like, oh, my neighbor sold for $400. Yep, and they paid this much in compensation, so they netted this prior to their taxes and loan amount, all that kind of stuff. Well, now it's going to be much harder, so the market prices are going to fluctuate even more now, because you can still say, well, the market has my house worth $400. That's true, but now you've got to account for this variable that wasn't accounted for before. So if you're not offering a compensation to another agent, that's going to affect your net and your market value, which once you start affecting a few people's market value, it starts bringing down everything as a market. So now sellers, I feel like, are doing a disservice to themselves by hurting their own market.
And I think that's one thing that people do not look at, or they don't even know. They're not educated by their agents that the price that you're asking for your home does include all of those fees. And so if you're not going to be offering compensation to a buyer agent, then we can put it lower. You know, it's like, it's in the price. And I had somebody, and I had to have that conversation with a client just, it's funny, like 2 weeks ago, and she was very adamant, I don't want to pay a buyer agent. And I asked her, okay, what is your reason for it? Well, I don't think I should have to, because, I need to make this much money on my house, and I will wait. Okay, if you want to make that much money, then, she's like, well, and she also did, well, so-and-so down the street, there was a house down the street that just sold for this, so why can't I get that for mine? I think mine's better. And I think that's a big thing too, is where, like, I had to learn when I started, just because you spent $100 on your tile, this $13 tile over here is going to be exactly the same. So the tile, the carpet, it doesn't matter what you pay for it, it all ends up being a wash anyways. And so you can't factor that into the
value and attractability.
Yes.
Attractability goes a long way with bringing you a better qualified buyer, but when the appraiser comes out, they're looking at like to like.
And I mean, I had a house too that had travertine tile, and they were very upset when they found out that they couldn't get more than just having basic tile. I mean, yes, it looks nicer, but when an appraiser comes in, it's tile. It is tile. So it stinks. And when trying to factor the price of a home that that the seller wants, okay, they know how much money they put into it. They know what they want to get out, because maybe they have to put down for another home. But you also have to factor in the closing costs and all of that stuff if you're not willing to take that loss in the net.
A lot of factors.
There is.
That's
tons. So it's a very uncomfortable conversation for me, because I'm newer. You guys are very seasoned.
She called you old.
I did not.
call
do not call you
Mature,
old. You guys are
wise.
mature, wise
Mature.
agents.
I
don't
I
know
am
if
just
mature
the
wise
baby
are
in the
better of a
industry.
word to use.
I was talking about my own thing.
But coming and learning all these things, that's why I'm so glad. And for those of you that don't know, Shannon brought me into this business, and Sam is my coach. so I have two very great agents that are helping me along the way, and I thank you both. But I'm learning a lot, and every single person I meet that is either trying to buy or sell their home has been so different. The needs are completely different. And I think with this lawsuit that has happened and the changes that are being made is a very uncomfortable conversation for both of me and the seller or the buyer. And so they want to ask all the questions and they want to make sure that it's not going to affect them, when it's kind of like there was that blind area where, well, this has always been this way, it just hasn't been as clear.
Right.
So now it's clear, everything is transparent mostly, depending on the delivery and how your agent can explain it. But I think we have a pretty good team and we've had a lot of discussions on this.
I think we jumped on it right away. Yeah, that's something I'm super proud about where we were.
Yeah, I like how we were trained. Like we've been trained on this, for months, and we're still
Yeah.
hearing agents calling us, being like, "What do you mean new documents?"
Yes.
Right.
I'm like,
That's-
oh my gosh.
that's
Almost a month
surprising.
past- almost
a
There's
month
not
past.
a lot of them, but they are out there. Most of them work for companies that don't have an active broker that you can say hello to every single day
Yes.
like us. We are very blessed with
And we're
that.
independent agents too, I think. It's just, I don't know.
No, I think it's just. I wouldn't say individual, independent agents. I think it really is. It's a handful of. It's just a
It's
handful
those
of people.
agents
that-
working another job full time that do some side work on real estate,
Yes.
help out family and friends. The ones we fix those deals and correct those problems that happen.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for coming with us today. I hope that you got something out of this. We all want to get the word out in such a casual manner, but real factual information. That's the best thing we can do to give you and honor you with what's going on. And anyone?
No, yeah. Hopefully we'll keep doing some more of these and get some more content out there. And
Yes, we'll definitely be doing more of these just kind of laid back conversations between us. This is not scripted. We kind of have an idea of what we're going to be talking about, but really it's nice because we can talk about real life exchanges between us and our clients that we've worked with and in the past as well, and really get to know what is happening so we know it's not just me, it's not just them, but real people asking real questions and learning what we can to make everything a lot easier for
everyone say hi to
everyone else.
Alyssa.
Yeah,
Hi,
hi
Alyssa.
Alyssa. We're on a
Yeah,
video.
camera.
Yeah, that's all right. She works hard
Smells
for
like
us too. But we want to just say thank you so much for spending some time with us. We want to bring real information in real time, let you know what's being asked, and
Yeah.
maybe you don't even know what to ask, and this will help you at least get you in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate you again. This is Shannon, Erin, and Sam with Keller Williams, Legacy One Realty, the Advantage Home Team. Till next time, family and friends, have a great day.